Uh-oh. Huge day for my mom. She just discovered acting. This is a video I'd never thought I'd have to make. And to the AJR fans out there, I'm so sorry. Hello. Hi, y'all. Okay. Let's just crack open a nice Diet Coke and get things started. Nice. Who are we drinking with today? We're drinking, this one's for Jose. Shout out to Jose if you're watching. Hey, you probably don't want to talk to me, but, well, my name's Jasper. And you can call me Cam. And can I just say something real quick? Hello. 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 Thank you so much for coming. I know you didn't want to be here. I have a lot to talk about today, so hopefully I can keep it pretty concise so I don't make anybody's ears bleed. I've made some notes on my phone, and I'm going to be relying on them fairly heavily. I also have my iPad up here, so maybe if I have anything I feel like searching, we can look it up, because I have a feeling that'll happen. This morning, I went to a Pilates class, and hey, when are y'all gonna tell me about Pilates? Like, I know about Pilates and I've heard there's like machines or whatever, but that was like a feat of engineering that like a Disneyland contraption. I think it was called the Megaformer or something like that. And hey, it was like a whole spaceship worth of equipment there. And so they make you wear the grippy socks, which I went with 3 of my coworkers, and then there was like 3 other ladies in the class. And these ladies knew exactly what was going on. And this lady is like, all right, everybody, left hip, jackknife, in 5, 4, 3, little pulse, go. And jackknife, good. Reverse, awesome. Okay, we're gonna put left hand 2, right hand red. Now everybody turn around, good. And that's how you do the scarn. It was the Cupid shuffle with none of the fun parts. And hey, I also had to like stop every couple seconds and be like, oh my gosh, like my butt's gonna fall off. We never have to use our muscles like that for that long. And so that was very different. It was a good workout, I'd say. It felt very Valley of the Dolls down there. The gym was in this little area, and every other building in this complex was some sort of workout studio. Like, here you can do vitamin D IV infusions, and down here at the next place there's a float spa, and then down here then we can go around the corner and get our Botox, and over here is where we get our poodles groomed. And it was giving very Valley of the Dolls. I don't know if anybody's seen Valley of the Dolls. I hadn't seen it until like this year. I had heard of it, but I didn't know what it was. Hey, guess what? I still don't know what it is. I was talking about the Stepford Wives and not Valley of the Dolls. Very like, this is not real. Like, this is no one's reality living here in the valley. Like, it was very much, it was like a little haven, you know, where people who have a lot more money than I do can just kind of be blissful and feel like this is how the whole world is. And that's what I was thinking about on my way back. I was like, there's a certain amount of choosing what kind of people are in your life that we have, you know? Like, you get to choose, for the most part, where you live, where you work, who you hang out with outside of work, and stuff like that. Like, we get to construct our own little reality, and I think that can be a very dangerous thing. If I was raised in this area that the Pilates studio was in, I feel like I wouldn't know, to a certain degree, I feel like I just wouldn't know that there were people who were not living like that, you know? Obviously, we like know that, but you don't ever have to see it when you live in one of those places. And I don't know, I feel like I grew up in like a pretty small town, and I got to see like the extremes, and I was very much like in the middle. But I guess everybody probably feels to a certain degree that they're in the middle, you know, because there's always somebody way more rich than you, and there's always somebody way more poor than you. And so I think we all feel kind of like we're middle class, you know? That's probably why everybody says like, oh, I'm middle class. But I don't know. I feel like mine was a pretty true middle class. Like, there was never a time where we needed something and we couldn't get it. But my dad was like laid off in the recession, you know? I think I was more worried about my family's financial situation than my actual parents were. Like, I remember seeing my parents stressing about money and being like, oh, this is it. Like, I'm not going to ask for anything. And I remember like not doing track in 6th grade because there was like a $45 fee at the middle school to do it. And I was like, no, I can't. Like, my family needs this money right now, which, hey, they could have made it work. They could have found the $45 so I could run track. But I remember telling my friends like, yeah, I can't do track. My family just can't afford it. And I'm like, girl, maybe I should consult with the people actually wielding the money before I make decisions like that. But there was lots of things like that. I think in my head we were like digging a hole in the backyard to go to the bathroom, when in reality we were probably doing like, we just didn't have like a ton of excess, you know? Like, the reality was probably more like we weren't gonna be dropping thousands of dollars at the mall for back to school, you know? I think it's so interesting. I've been thinking a lot about social construction lately and how we all live in the reality we create, you know? Like, your reality is based exclusively on what you've experienced. And I kind of talked about this last time, like, nobody else has lived all of the experiences you've lived. But I was thinking about it in terms of like manners and stuff like that. Like, people who are like, oh, you have no manners, maybe they've like literally never been exposed to that, you know? Like, all they've ever known is burping and not saying excuse me, you know, and coughing and not covering their mouth or something like that. Like, that's just how some people's lives are. I don't know. I think we give people a hard time sometimes about stuff like that. We're like, oh, I can't believe you would do that. I'm like, girl, they don't know any better. You can't believe they would do that because you would never do that, which is good for you. But I've been thinking a lot lately about like not yucking anybody else's yum. You know, has anybody ever heard that? Like, don't yuck somebody else's yum. Like, I'm trying not to hate on something just because I don't like it. Like, this is a video I'd never thought I'd have to make. And to the AJR fans out there, I'm so sorry. This is a formal apology to lovers of AJR who have seen my TikTok.
I love the Smiths. I said I love the Smiths.
I know I said that there was no bigger red flag than liking AJR, and I take it back. I think it's a bigger red flag to hate on somebody who likes AJR than to actually like AJR. I'm sorry. That's what I've been thinking lately. Like, there's things that bring me a lot of joy that other people don't like, you know, and that's fine. I don't need my family to like everything that I like. I don't need my parents to watch RuPaul's Drag Race with me, you know? As long as they don't care that I like it, because I think it's fun and I think it's interesting and I like to watch it. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like sports. Like, people who like sports, I think that's so awesome. I love that you love sports, but I don't have to love sports. I don't have to go watch football on a Sunday, you know? And I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about judgment lately, because I think we judge because it makes us feel better about ourselves. I don't know if this is just like a super obvious thing that everybody's already thought of and I'm like late to the game, but I was thinking about it because the other day at work, I saw some people walk past our store and they were like furries and they were holding hands and they looked very happy. And I remember being like, ooh, furry, cringe. And then I was like, you know what? They seem happy and they are happy together. Like, if they can find each other, then I can find someone, you know? It gives me some hope that I could eventually maybe find somebody like they have, you know? Like, if they can do it, anybody can.
Oh, that's no.
Just because I'm not into it doesn't mean I gotta be hating on it. And I've been trying to be a lot better about that recently. There are a few things like that I don't know if I can ever get behind. First of all, Love Island. Hey, what do you mean there's 150 episodes per season and they're all an hour and a half long? Like, they're producing an amount of content that like could sustain human life for the next 5 years, like one season, you know? And I feel so behind already. My coworkers, all my friends keep talking about Love Island and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't catch up. Like, they're putting out an episode every day and I'm supposed to keep up with that? Like, I don't know. That's a lot. But I love that other people love it. And it does suck to feel a little out of the loop. But that's okay. Like, they're not trying to exclude me. This is the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is gatekeeping. I was thinking about it because in my last vlog I talked about Cave Town and how I went to a Cave Town concert, and I remember being like in like 6th or 7th grade, I found the song Lemon Boy by Cave Town and I got really into it. And then later on, I remember a Cave Town song like blew up on TikTok or something like that. And my friends were talking about the song and they're like, oh yeah, I really like Cave Town. And I'm like, oh yeah, you like Cave Town? Well, not like me. I like Cave Town different. I've been liking him for way longer than you. I used to listen to Lemon Boy. You don't even probably know that song.
I think I know more about American Girls than you do.
Recently, I've been thinking about like why we gatekeep, because I have a feeling the artist Cave Town, they are benefiting from being more popular and more successful. That's why they put their music out, is because they want to share it with the world, and now more of the world is getting to see it, you know? I'm sure they appreciate that you've been an OG fan, but I have a feeling they wouldn't turn away a new fan, you know? And like, they're not trying to shut them down as a fan, you know? They're encouraging them to like them. Like, why do we gatekeep, and why do we do it so intensely?
Why do I shower? Why do I bath? Why do I do it? What am I getting out of doing this? Am I going to starve if I don't take a bath? Am I going to die if I don't take a bath? It's not a necessity like food and water. Basically, you're just wasting your own water bill for no reason, because you want to fit in.
I think it's because we all want to be different. We're like, but it's the craziest thing, because we all want to be different, but at the same time, we all want to be included, and we want to be the same, and we want to be relatable. Like, those are the two opposing forces, I think, in people. Like, oh yeah, I listened to that way before you, but then at the same time, like, if somebody else who has loved it for the same amount of time as you likes it, you're like, yes, we see each other, we know, you know, like, we want to relate, but also we want to keep things separated. I think I wrote something in my notes about this. Let's see. Let's scroll through. My notes are like the ramblings of a madman. Like, if this was presented in a court case, I have a feeling I would end up in a conservatorship. I just wrote, the hypocrisy of gatekeeping. Your fave artist probably doesn't want to be gatekept no matter what they say. Yeah, they want to be popular, I have a feeling. So they would not be turning away new people just because they weren't OG fans, you know? And the other thing is, a lot of people are like, oh, I miss the old blank. Like, Lord's new album just dropped, and haven't listened to it. Probably won't.
Let's hear it for the band of the year.
I like Lord.
I like some of the Gaga songs. What the does she know about cameras?
No, I like Lord. I have nothing against her. Pro Lord. But people are being like, oh, her new album is like, we miss the old Lord. And I'm like, okay, then listen to it, you know? Like, that's already out there. You can't if she just kept putting out the exact same music for her whole life, like music that sounded exactly the same, people would be like, oh, she's flatlined, she's a one-trick pony. But then when she branches out, you're like, I miss the old Lord. So that's another thing, is like, I feel the same way about TV shows. Like, if a TV show is super successful in the first couple seasons, all they can really do is capitalize on what made it successful. Like, try and harness that same kind of energy and that same humor, but eventually it's either gonna get old or get super one note, you know? So I was thinking of it like a funnel. When a show starts out, it has like the whole world to explore, and then as we explore it, it gets down and down farther until eventually it's like, oh yeah, we've seen this, you know? And so I just don't know, like, what are we supposed to do about that? Why can't we just be happy for what we have? I don't know. That's been my thing lately, is like, why can't we just why can't we just get along? Maybe we could go to the park. Oh, you probably wouldn't want to go to the park and go metal detecting with me anyways. Nobody ever does. I was thinking about this too, because anytime somebody says like, oh, people are turning into snowflakes, I'm like, God forbid we try and see the best in each other, you know? Like, I was thinking about this with jokes. I've been thinking a lot lately about the anatomy of a joke, as if I'm like writing a textbook on comedy, which, not an expert, have no right to do so. But sometimes when I hear a joke, I'm like, that is funny because blank. And then I get to really thinking about it, you know? But I'll get back to that. I feel like trying to assume people have good intentions and their intention is not to hurt other people. I think I try to live my life assuming the best in people. I think I try to assume that if somebody says something sassy or snarky, that they meant it playfully and they don't genuinely feel that way about me, and that they're not a mean person because they're saying that. And then when somebody takes it too far, like, I guess that's what I'm talking about, is when is a joke too far, you know? And I don't know, I've been really trying to classify that, and it got me thinking a lot, because I think the thing about a joke is, first of all, is the subject of the joke in on the joke? Second of all, is the person telling the joke knowledgeable enough on the subject to be able to make a joke on it, you know? I don't have a third point yet. Maybe we'll get to one, but that's when people are like, oh, you're being a snowflake because you can't tell racist jokes anymore. I'm like, the problem with you, a white man in the country out here talking about racist jokes, is there is a genuine concern that you're not joking. So then you are being serious, and therefore you're just being mean and perpetuating a stereotype. I think it's okay when white people joke about being white people and black people joke about being black people, because we have that experience, you know? We can joke about it. Or gay people talking about making a gay joke, you know? I am gay. I've lived that experience. I know what it's like. I can make a joke about it, and you're allowed to laugh. I encourage you to laugh, even. But, hey, I wouldn't want you to say that about me, because who knows if you're joking, you know? And that's a big thing, I think. Like, nobody knows your whole background. Nobody knows whether or not you're joking. And like I said, we can try and assume the best in people, but hey, a lot of the time, people are not the best, especially when it comes to joking about minorities. Somehow people genuinely believe in these prejudices against different groups of people. The people around you are not always going to assume it's a joke. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And then it got me thinking, there's this comedian that I've seen a few times scrolling through TikTok, and they're disabled. And I'm like, that's so cool. They probably write all their own jokes. But then I was thinking, a lot of professional comedians have like joke writers, you know, or ghost writers. And I have a feeling their ghost writers are not disabled people. So that's kind of the gray area. I'm like, who can write these jokes? Because not anybody can tell the joke. So can anybody write the joke? And then I was thinking about it. I feel like the important thing is having a relationship with that person where they know that if you are pitching them a joke, it's not coming from a place of being serious or a place of hatred or a place of trying to make the joke on them, you know? Like, you have to have a rapport with a person, you know? Like, you can't just throw out a joke because you meet somebody who's different and be like, hey, you ever heard this one? Like, I don't know. That's the other thing, is like, you don't have to tell the joke. I feel like when my brother sends me a joke about being gay, which he has a couple times, and I think they're funny. The thing is, I have a feeling, I know he doesn't genuinely feel that way, but I do have a feeling that the sources where he got them from, knowing who he is, they probably genuinely are making fun of gay people, and they probably are trying to put them down. Put me down. Put me down, mister. Anyways, back to joking and like the science and anatomy of a joke. One of the things that I've been thinking about is like, a joke is funny because it's so preposterous that it can't be true. Like, it's obviously not true. I can't think of any examples, but hey, sometimes people have insecurities. Like when a person who's obviously not obese is like, oh, does this make me look fat? And you say, yeah. And like, to you, you're obviously joking, but to that person, they have a genuine insecurity about their size and how they look, you know? So no matter how much of a joke it is, it's probably still a little hurtful. And that is kind of like, that is the thing where like, if I ever make a joke to somebody, it's because I love them. And like, I feel that we're close enough that they should know that I genuinely don't feel that way. You know, that's another thing I wrote in my notes. I think people who are a little bit neurospicy, sometimes we show love and affection differently. And I think a lot of the time it is in the form of being sarcastic and joking, because in my eyes, that's what we do with somebody who we care about, you know? I was talking about this with my sister, like we were kind of roasting each other, and she was like, ugh, you hurt my feelings. And I was like, okay, first of all, you were roasting me back. Like, it was obvious that this was not serious. And second of all, I'm doing this because I love you, and obviously I don't genuinely feel any of these kinds of ways about you. That's the interesting thing, is like, even when you know somebody's joking, it can still hurt. The amount of funny a joke is has to outweigh any amount of hurt, you know? The joy it brings has to outweigh the pain it causes. And not every joke does that. And I think that's because a lot of the times things are insecurities. And that's another thing. I feel like we can joke about our own insecurities, but sometimes we don't really need other people joking about them, you know? And it's hard because some people feel like, oh, by casting the first stone, by basically like putting it out there that this is something you're joking about, you are not necessarily inviting other people to just come and make fun of that, you know? And that's another thing that's so hard. Like, you have to be so socially aware to be able to joke and still make friends and to still be considered like a good person, you know? And one of my coworkers, he's one of my friends, he was like, yeah, I always ask you because I know you're going to give it to me straight. And then he's like, yeah, everybody needs a mean friend. And I was like, a mean friend? I joke because I love you. Like, but yeah, if I don't like your outfit, I probably am not going to tell you I do because you asked for my opinion. And maybe that was your fault. Like, I don't know. When are we supposed to lie? Maybe this is just me being a slightly neurodivergent ADHD person, but how are you supposed to know when to joke and when not to joke? Like, once again, we never know somebody's full life story. How are we supposed to know whether or not joking that their outfit is ugly is going to trigger them, you know? And I think for me, who's grown up as a little, like, my family were very much sarcastic and like jokesters. That's the only way I know how to like show love. And so I don't know how I'm supposed to just stop. Not that anybody's really asking me to, but I think the other reason a joke goes too far, or when a joke is not okay to tell, is when people really start believing it's true. I think this is a big thing with like racist and homophobic jokes. Like, you're making a stereotype, and it's funny when you know it's not true. Like, even if they know it's a joke, they are still going to see it as the truth. Like, for example, British people always being so posh and like, oh, I'm so fancy, I'm so much fancier than you. Like, I feel like I can talk about this one because it's not harmful. That is a stereotype that we joke about. And then there are people who are genuinely surprised when they meet a person from London and they're not the Queen of England, you know, because that's not how people really are, you know. So it's a joke, but how are people supposed to know it's a joke? Like, people genuinely believe that. And that's the problem with problematic jokes. I think a big thing about it is your intention, but that's the other thing, is like, you have to know when you're perpetuating a harmful stereotype and spreading misinformation about things or people. And that is a very difficult line to draw as well, I think. I think that's Trisha Paytas as a good example, where she like trolls, but she really did like have identity issues. She really wasn't sure what her gender and her sexuality was, you know? And I think she was also really mentally ill. And so she was trolling, but she was trolling about things that she had experienced genuinely. And people are like, oh, you're making fun of this community. And I'm like, girl, that is her community. Like, she can make light of her own experiences, you know? Like, if she genuinely did feel like, oh, I feel like maybe I'm a man, but I'm attracted to men, so does that make me a gay man, you know? Like, then she can joke about that. Like, I can joke about how it's crazy that I like kissing boys, you know? Like, I can joke about that. I don't know. I guess this is just a Trisha Paytas Stan account now. The other thing I was thinking about is actors. When an actor is really good at acting, we don't know. Like, I was thinking about like John Cena. He was on Amy Poehler's podcast Good Hang recently, as like a guest, and he just like the way he was talking, seeing him out of character was so weird to me, because I think of him as being like a big muscly oaf who's like all of that kind of stuff, and he's not. He's just like a pretty normal guy. Like, I feel like I just learned that John Cena isn't actually Fred Ficklehorn's dad, and that he doesn't actually think he's invisible. But then I'm like, oh, he's really good at playing that character, and he's been like kind of pigeonholed or whatever into that character. And it's so interesting because I feel like there has to be a lot of people like that. Like, I think of back in the days of like the Katharine Hepburns, and back in like the old Hollywood days, I feel like there were so many actresses who were like, oh, you're the exotic, you're playing the ugly girl, or like you're playing the best friend character, you know, like, and then people, when they see them out of character, they're like, who is this? This is not the person I know. And I'm like, girl, they're acting. You don't know this person. You know the character. And I don't know. I think that's such an interesting thing. And I think when somebody has a character who is a certain way, the audience to a certain degree has to be in on the joke to know that this person's not really like that. And I think that's a big thing. I'm curious. I'm not justifying this, but I'm curious if maybe that's what Chappell Roan is trying to go for. Like, if being the mean diva is like her character. Not everybody's in on the joke. People think you are just being a jerk, you know? And I think she's just trying to play a character. But then, like, how do you balance that? If she's, like, goes on a late night show or something and she's just being herself and herself is actually really nice and genuine, then people are going to be like, oh, now she's acting different.
I'm acting different.
She's trying to cover up for being a jerk. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like there's no way to please everyone ever, you know? And that's the thing that where I'm like, I'm really just trying to assume the best in people. I can't say that I think Chappell Roan is genuinely not a diva, but I can hope that she's not, you know? And that's the other thing, like sometimes with celebrities, they have enough money to cover things up. Not her, but like, I feel like artists sometimes they get like accused of something and then people will say like, oh, the case was dropped. I'm like, well, they paid that person off. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, you know? And that's such a hard thing to like know at what point a person is just too far gone. I don't know. I was thinking about the acting thing because my mom sent a video of the guy who plays Kevin in The Office, and his normal voice is not his like Kevin acting voice. And my mom was like, do you guys know he doesn't really sound like that? And I was like, uh-oh. Huge day for my mom. She just discovered acting. Oh. So talking about how we surround ourselves. We create our own reality by surrounding ourselves with like-minded people, but that can only go so far. Like, we're going to interact with people who are not part of that group. Like, we're going to interact with people who are different from us and who have different values, goals, intentions, and like passions than us. And instead of being like, ew, look at that person, why can't we just unite over our mutual interests and feelings, you know? Like, I was thinking about like the next time I get in an argument, I've been really trying to be less argumentative lately because I tend to firmly believe that I'm right. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I think other people are wrong. I just want them to know why I think I'm right, you know? And so next time I get into an argument with somebody, I really want to stop and be like, I hope we both learn something from each other's perspective, or like, thank you for sharing your perspective. Thank you for listening to mine. I hope we both learn something, because I think like this social construction thing, life is like a big long game of telephone where we heard it through the grapevine and we only know what we know. And I think we have to admit that there's a whole world of things that we don't know all the time. Like there's no way to know everything, you know? Why do we have to expect other people to get where we're coming from? Because they don't know where we're coming from, you know? And so next time I really want to just listen to the person, and hopefully they'll listen to me too. And then be like, wow, that's really interesting that you think that. And then maybe can we move on to like something we can both agree on, you know? I don't know. I feel like that would be a move in my life to make me a happier person, and probably a lot of other people too, because arguing does not make me feel good. And the thing I've really realized lately is there's certain people whose minds I cannot change, you know? And it's not my job to change their mind. Nobody asked me to do that. Another thing I really don't like is this, when people say like, oh, everybody knows blank, blank, blank. Because not everybody knows that. And I feel like if you're saying everybody knows something, you are probably trying to make another person feel stupid. And I think intention is everything when you're telling a joke. And I think if your intention is ever to make somebody feel bad, then you probably shouldn't be doing or saying that thing, you know? Everybody knows. Oh, everybody knows that you had an affair. Like, oh, you're trying to make that person feel bad. Y'all trying to make me look stupid. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? So let's not say everyone knows. We could say like, oh, I thought that was like pretty common knowledge, or like, oh, you didn't know that. Like, why can't we approach it from a place of being so happy to educate somebody on something? Why does it have to be like, you're stupid because you don't know this? And that's another thing. Like, I really want to start approaching situations like that differently. I really want to start. I feel like I just want to assume that this person doesn't know something, that a person doesn't know something because they weren't exposed to it, not because they are willfully ignorant. I think when you spend all your time worrying about things that are truly out of your control, then your life gets kind of sad, kind of quick. And so that's the other thing about like yucking other people's yum is, hey, I think all we're trying to do in our lives is do things that bring us some joy. I think we're all just trying to balance out all of the negative things in our life with positive things in our life. And it sucks when a positive thing in your life becomes a negative thing. Like, if you really like dressing a certain way and then you're getting judged for dressing that way, it really kind of ruins it. But I think there's another part of us that kind of loves counterculture. We love doing something because other people told us not to, you know? I think that's really interesting. I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, when you tell somebody not to do something, there's a certain amount of wanting to do that thing that happens, you know? I think obviously any parent or like anybody who's been around kids knows that. Like, we can give people a warning about harmful things, you know? Like, don't touch the stovetop, you're going to burn yourself. And then they'll learn it for themselves when they touch it and burn themselves, and they'll be like, oh wow, you were right. And maybe that'll lead to them trusting you a lot more. But the way somebody dresses isn't a harmful thing. So you can say like, oh, you shouldn't dress like that. And I'm like, why? Because you don't like it? I'm sorry. I didn't wake up this morning thinking, what would she want me to do? Like, you can't live your life for somebody else. And that's the other thing is like, I know that there's, I don't want to keep talking about being gay, but I don't understand why people are anti being gay, because it's not hurting you. And I remember when I came out, my dad seemed like really upset for the couple weeks before, and I was really worried about coming out because I thought he was angry that I was gay. And when I finally did, I told him that. I was like, Dad, like, you seemed really upset lately, and I thought it was because I was gay and it made it harder to come out to you. And what he said was, no, I was frustrated that you weren't willing to talk to me, you know, that I was clearly experiencing something that I wasn't sharing with him, you know. And then the other thing, I think my mom was crying when I came out, and she's like, I'm not crying because I'm sad, I'm crying because nobody ever has a kid and says, I hope that this child's life is harder than mine. I hope this child has experiences that I can't help them with and that I haven't experienced, so I can't even relate to them about it, you know. And I think that's so true about so many different things. Like, why do we have to police people's interests and all of these things when we don't understand, like when we haven't experienced what they're experiencing?
But I don't think you actually want to experience things because you would experience it if you wanted to experience things. I don't know what you're talking about. Meaning you should experience being single.
Why do we care? Why can't we just let people do what makes them happy? And I don't know. If that makes me a snowflake, then like cut me out of paper and put me on the ceiling. I like being a snowflake. Okay, let's get less serious. I want to talk about places that I thought were made up. I don't know if anybody has ever thought this, but there's multiple places that I've heard of or like in songs, or that are like common phrases that I just thought were a joke. Like Timbuktu. I thought Timbuktu was just like a way to say like out in the country, you know, like, oh, I live out in Timbuktu. Hey, Timbuktu's a real place. Maybe let's Google Timbuktu and learn a thing or two. I'm pretty sure it's in Africa. City in Mali. Out the Mali? Okay, yeah, like wait, is it a place or is it a temple? Okay, yeah, it's in Africa. It's in, what do they call that? Is that the Horn of Africa or the crest or something? An ancient city in Mali. Okay, then why do we say, like, I live out in Timbuktu? Is that just because it's, like, saying it's, like, far away and it has a silly name? That's probably what it is. But I genuinely thought that Timbuktu was just a joke. I thought Timbuktu was made up. Also, the Chattahoochee. The Chattahoochee River. Thought that was a joke. Chattanooga. Is the Chattahoochee also in... No, that's in Florida, right? Chattahoochee. Oh, it's a song by Alan Jackson. The Chattahoochee River in the southeast United States. The border between Alabama and Georgia, and then Georgia and Florida. So it's the Florida-Georgia line. But Chattahoochee, the song, is by Alan Jackson, not Florida-Georgia line. Chattahoochee, real place, not a joke. Hey, guys, do you know why I called you in here today? Yeah, I heard what you've been saying about the Chattahoochee River. Your teacher told me, and I'm really disappointed. The Chattahoochee's a real place, and it's really hurtful that you would say otherwise. Yeah. So I need you to march back in there and apologize, and I need you to let your class know that you know that behavior was unacceptable. Yeah. The only other one I wrote down was Kilimanjaro. Kilimanjaro. I thought it was made up for this song Africa by Toto. Sure as Kilimanjaro rises like Olympus above the Serengeti. Okay, another one, Mount Olympus. Real or not real? I don't know. I think it's made up, but... Okay, so Mount Olympus is real too. Okay, add another one to add to the list. Mount Olympus, real. Like, I don't know why I thought they were... They sound made up. Another thing I've been thinking about lately is, like, why do people get so upset if you mispronounce their name? Like, I don't know you. I don't know your parents. It's not my fault your parents named you Emily with an E-I-G-H-X. And if I say Emily or Emilyx, I don't know. I have a coworker named Felicia. Shout out Felicia, friend of the pod. The first time I read her name, I was like, oh, it could be Felicia or it could be Felicia. Like, I have a friend, it could be Felicia. I have a friend from high school whose name was Alicia and not Alicia. And it was spelled the same way Felicia spells Felicia. Like, there's no SH in Felicia. So can you really get upset if somebody mispronounces your name when they don't know you? Like, especially when we have the Haley Haleys of the world where you can spell it Haley and it can be Haley or Hallie. Like, how am I supposed to know the difference? And I can't stand it if you're gonna roll your eyes at me and say, like, ugh, you pronounced it wrong. Obviously, like, it was a 50-50 shot, and I shot my shot. Like, I don't know you. I don't know you! Other interesting thing about names is, like, why do we care how they're spelled? Because what really matters about a name is that we can say it to each other. I guess it's helpful if you're reading, like if there's two people with the same name, like my name can be Cameron, like mine is, or it could be, I've seen it of quite a few ways, like Camryn. You can spell it with a K, you can do Kamryn. Anyways, it helps us differentiate from like the other Camerons in writing, but I think I'm thinking of it in terms of the fitting rooms at my job, like, if you come in and I'm like, oh yeah, what was your name? And it's Emily, and I just write down Emily, and then you're like, oh, it was Emileigh. I don't know why I'm picking on the Emilys of the world. If you come in and your name is Kylie, and I'm like, oh, what's a good name for the door? And you say Kylie, I'm going to write Kylie. And then if you come out and be like, it's Kyllee, I'm like, I'm sorry. All I knew is that you were Kylie and Kylie's in that room. Like, it's... And I do usually ask people how they spell their name to avoid that situation, because I'm kind of a people pleaser, and because that's, I don't know, it's my job to please people at work. I don't know. And situations like that, I'm like, why does it matter how your name is spelled? It's all the same and that kind of thing, you know? I don't know. What do you guys think about being friends with your exes? Because I have some thoughts on that. I think it depends on what the situation was with this person. Like, one of my really good friends is somebody who I kind of tried to date. We tried to date for like 3 months, and by the end of it, we were both like, oh yeah, this isn't really gonna work out. Like, we were both kind of realizing that I think our goals are different, our values are different, and neither of us really had a problem with that. And we eventually, I won't air out his dirty laundry on how it came about, but eventually we were like, hey, let's just be friends. And we are still to this day. And like, I don't feel insecure about that relationship at all. When I'm doing my yearning, which I do a lot of yearning. And when I do my yearning, it's never about him. You know, I don't yearn for that relationship. I think for me, where I can't be friends with an ex is if I genuinely thought that things, like, I wanted things to work out with us and I saw no reason why they shouldn't, or few reasons why they shouldn't, and then they shut it down and they're like, oh, I just want to be friends. And I'm like, oh, that's not how I saw this going. And then for me, at least, I cannot be in your life in the same way. Like, there's some people who I've dated where, like, let's just be friends, and then we still talk all the time and we like still send each other Instagram reels and whatever. And I'm like, this is not going to work for me, because now I'm giving energy into a relationship that I want to be one thing and isn't, you know? And I don't know. I think that's reasonable. And I want to know if other people are on the same page. Like, I think that it's all circumstantial as to whether or not you can be friends with an ex. I do think that, like, somebody I'm dating, if they are friends with an ex, I think it's a similar thing. Like, I need to know what was the nature of your relationship and how did it end? Like, is it like me and my friend where things kind of just puttered out and we've been friends now for almost 2 years now, I think. Yeah, we've been friends for almost 2 years. And ever since the last time we talked about, hey, I think about like, this clearly isn't working out, we should just be friends, there's never been any temptation on either end, you know? If it was like oh yeah, we dated for 3 years and we were living together and I wanted to get engaged and he didn't, so we decided to just be friends. And like, oh, so you wanted to get engaged to him. That's crazy. That would be a problem to me. Obviously, I'm not going to tell somebody that they can't hang out with their ex, and I would like to see what their dynamic is like, you know? But I don't know, that might be a little too far for me. I don't play football, but I touchdown everywhere. Everywhere. Do you guys want to meet my praying mantis? Can you even see him? I might just have to insert a picture. He might be too tiny to get on the camera. This is my little guy, Odie. He hangs out with me. Sometimes I'll put him on my computer when I'm doing like homework or whatever. It's just so he can just hang with me for a while. You wanna get on there? He wants to stay with me. I think being different is a really interesting thing, because I think like we should normalize being different. And I am saying that because I have a pet praying mantis. It's so interesting to me because nobody wants to be different. We all have our own interests. And for me, my interests are different than a lot of other people's. And so I want other people to, I want to talk about my interests with people. And they're like, oh, that's weird. Why is it always, you have a pet praying mantis? Why? Why isn't it, oh, I love that you love praying mantises, praying mantids. I love that you have a praying mantis. That's so cool. Tell me more about that. He's cleaning himself. Praying mantises are like the perfect pet because they only need to eat every couple days and they just eat flies. So you can get them at the store for like $10. It'll last you like a month. They're not big enough to hurt you. And they're small enough that they can live, like, the requirements for the size of an enclosure a praying mantis needs to live in is it only needs to be like, I think it's recommended to be like 3 times their height and at least 5 times the width. So I could keep this in literally like a McDonald's cup if I wanted to. But mine has a little terrarium, and the thing is I already had the terrarium. I've had it since high school, and recently I was like, I need a little friend. And so I started doing research as to like what could fit in there, and the praying mantis is perfect. They also only live for like a year or less, so it's not like it's a lifetime commitment. Like a bird. Do you guys know anybody who has a bird? If you get like one of those macaws, hey, it can live for 80 years. It can live for 100 years. Same with like a tortoise. Like people will get a baby tortoise when it's like the size of a quarter. And uh-oh, hey, you just got something that you're going to have to will to your grandchildren or your children because it's going to outlive you. That's crazy. Literal lifetime commitment. Not my friend Odie here. Odie here is here for a good time, not a long time. So we just get to watch him hang out. And it's super fun. And he's pretty active in his little enclosure. It's fun to watch him hunt the flies. He's like, whoosh. He's so fast. It's crazy. And he also kind of just likes to chill. Like, he's not afraid of hanging out with me, you know? They also molt every, like, few weeks. They molt, like, 8 times in their life. And when they're molting, it's really interesting to watch. And then it's like a reveal. It's like a reveal. Because they look pretty different with every time they shed. Anyways, I would recommend a praying mantis as a pet. The only thing is sometimes they just kind of die randomly. I haven't had that experience, luckily, but I went on a family trip a couple weeks ago, and I needed somebody to watch my praying mantis, which I think that's such a funny sentence. Like, hey, could you watch my praying mantis for me? Super easy, because all I had to do was bring his 8x10 little glass enclosure to my friend's house, and like, hey, all you have to do is spray this with water and maybe like once or twice tap some flies into the little thing for me, and Odie will take care of himself from there, you know? And then I did also give my friend the disclaimer, like, hey, if Odie dies, totally understand, not your fault, totally probably just happened for no reason. Like, and then I did text them like halfway through the trip and be like, hey, is Odie still alive, you know? And with like a dog, that's definitely not the case. It's definitely more of a high pressure situation, because like if you don't feed the dog for a week, it's not going to be doing well. Not that, and like if Odie didn't eat for a week, Odie would be fine. She would survive and perhaps even thrive. I don't know. The interesting thing with the praying mantises is as they get older, they actually eat less because they grow a lot faster when they're small. And ooh, he's shaking his butt. Let me see if I can get a picture of him. Like I said, I have a body tremor, so sometimes it's hard for me to get pictures. Oh, that was another thing about my Pilates class. Hey, I have a body tremor. And she's like, oh yeah, you're shaking, that's good. And I'm like, girl, no, I have a tremor. Like, I'm over here looking like, I don't know, anybody can make it look easy. It takes a real man to make something look hard. It's another thing, like with my TikToks, sometimes I will like do a TikTok on selfie mode and it'll look like I'm like super nervous or something. Hey, body tremor. Super cool. Hey, you're trying to eat me. You can't eat me. I get so emotional, baby, every time I think of you. Okay, I'm ready to wrap it up, but first I'm gonna do a little, we're gonna make up a little card reading here, and by doing this, in no way am I trying to make fun of people who like tarot cards and believe in all of that, because I think that's really great for you. I just don't. I'm not super knowledgeable on that, and we're gonna see what the cards have to say about our lives today. All right, I'll make something up and then I'll look up what it actually means. The 3 of Hearts. Ooh, this is a tough one. This means that it might be a really interesting day for you, because you're going to meet 3 men who could potentially be your father. And each one of them had an intimate relationship with your mother nearly 20 years ago, and she wrote about them in a diary. And now you're getting married and you need one of them to walk you down the aisle, and you're not sure which one. So today's going to be a really interesting day for you. My advice to you would be, don't go wasting your emotions. Lay all your love on me. Every woman you see is a potential threat. Okay, now we'll look up what the 3 of Hearts actually means and see if it's significant. 2 of Hearts, come on, come on. 2 of Hearts, I need you, I need you. Okay, keen psychic, let's see what you have to say. So the hearts mean that You're dealing with emotions, love, and relationships. The suit of hearts is red, which tells us most of the cards in this suit are positive. In cartomancy, red means positive and black means negative. Depending on where the card lands in the spread, it will give you better context of what is going on. The number 3 always represents expansion. The 3 of hearts is a warning. Be very careful about your feelings here. This could mean that someone else has entered the picture. This could mean that someone else has entered the picture of that something could happen to make your relationship less enjoyable.
What would you do if when you okay, so he said yes would go?
This card can also mean that you will succeed at a project or that something will come to an end in a good way. The 3 of hearts is indicating that we will have an expansion in our love life, or that something may come to an end. So 3 of hearts today, new beginning or new end to something. I think I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you enjoy. Once again, my main goal is to find people who find my sense of humor interesting and who can relate to anything that I'm saying, and I hope I find at least a couple of you. If not, thanks for hearing me out. I appreciate it, and I'll see you later.
Scooby-Doo with the hammer, roll up on the mobs, get the slamming, boom, when I slam them, the bodies went, Ooby-Dooby, Scooby-Doo, how I move with the body shaggy, we moving, leave your body in a baggie, when we pull up to your addy, doobie, split up your family guy like Stewie.